Christy's story is rooted in her own experience of upheaval and reinvention, the kind of pivot that doesn't come from ambition, but from necessity. She holds both a bachelor's and a master's in social work and built her career at the intersection of emotional intelligence and leadership development. Her book, Oh God of Second Chances, Here I Am, is both the title of her platform and the thesis for her life. That life's disruption are sacred invitations, not failures. She's founded empowerment coaching and consulting around her Upwork framework, a 15-week process that helps high-achieving women excavate the unconscious patterns of limiting beliefs beneath their success. She also hosts of Second Chances with Christy Belz, her own podcast, which gives her an immediate peer dynamic. She knows what it means to sit in that chair and lead meaningful conversations. If you've built the business, you hit the numbers, you earn the title, the recognition, maybe even the award, and somewhere in the middle of it all, you look up and thought, is this actually it? Not because it isn't good, because something underneath doesn't match the outside. And nobody in your world talks about that part out loud. Today, my guest has spent her career creating space for exactly that conversation, the one that high-achieving women are having silently and alone. She's a coach, an author, and a curator of a framework that goes below the surface. Let's get into it. All right. Here's the conversation that almost never happens in business podcasts. Are you ready? Not about strategy, not about deals, not about systems, but about what's running underneath it all. The old stories, the inherited beliefs, and the version of yourself that was built with everything you have, and whether that version still fits you. My guest today has a master's degree in social work from the University of Denver, certifications in Brené Brown's Dare to Lead, the Leadership Circle, and HeartMath. She's been inside Fortune 500 companies designing leadership programs that integrate emotional intelligence and real business performance. She's the author of Oh God of Second Chances, Here I Am Again, and the creator of the Upwork framework, a process specifically designed to help high-achieving women excavate and release the patterns that quietly capping what's possible. She was named 2025 Women of Distinction by the Girl Scouts of Colorado and one of the top 25 most powerful women in business by the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce. She also has a podcast host herself of Second Chances with Christy Belz, which is where I first met this amazing woman. And she knows exactly what it takes to hold a room and a real conversation. Christy Belz, welcome to Real Talk with Katie Kim. I am so blessed to have you here.
Oh, the blessing is mine. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's so great to see you again. I loved our conversation. I had a ton of feedback about how fabulous my network thought you were. And so, yeah, it's great to be here and to share on your stage and your platform.
Love it. And I love it. And I know my listeners are in for a treat because, as I mentioned with Christy before I hit record, really was like, I do research for podcasts when I go on them, like what's their theme, what's their audience, but then I do like deeper dives when I have guests on. And I said, lady, I didn't realize you're this much of a powerhouse. Like, holy cow, we need to dig into some more layers here, you know? So I'm excited to jump right in. And
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So are my listeners after they're like, woo, power woman. Okay. So your whole platform is built around second chances. So tell me about that, like that one second chance or that one pivot point that started all of this for you, that personal moment that really made this your life work and not just your message.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And I really wish that I could say there was just one, but my book should be, Oh God of 25,000 Chances, Here I Am Again, because I've had so many opportunities to pivot, to shift, to stop, to reframe, to do what it is that is a second chance in our lives, right? To redo that. But if I had to go back to one, I think it was when I was in my early 20s. I was in a very successful career. I had not gone to college, but I was selling advertising, traveling all over the country for a very progressive, very successful company. And I was living a dream and I was miserable. And so I ended up going to a little church that first of all, I went to therapy. That was probably the first thing that needed to happen. And two was that I found this little church in Kansas City called Unity. And Unity basically teaches, it's biblically based, but it really teaches that your thoughts create your life. And when I started to understand that there was so much more possible for me based not just the limited beliefs that I carried from my youth and kind of a lot of the trauma and experiences that I had, but I think that thought shift process. And then I was just introduced to all sorts of, the Wayne Dyers of the world and different philosophical teachers and spiritual teachings. And I think that was the pivot point for me. I think I probably had a spiritual awakening in my early 20s and just decided I quit a 6-figure job to put myself through school to become a social worker. Do you think people thought I was nuts? Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's a lot of, I remember being in my 20s and just leaning into the career. I worked for a big company. And you can check that out on LinkedIn. Won't mention it here, but, I leaned into that, right? And I remember I was working as partner track. And then one day it was like, what am I doing this for? There's no fulfillment. There's no joy anymore. Like I loved working with my clients 100%. And my team was great, but it's like, there's that missing element of fulfillment. I think that you don't realize until you start doing the reps and you start getting into it. So,
right.
Yeah.
And then I don't know about you, but Katie, I created some really bad habits. I was just like out of control, like partying and running. I mean, I had no idea what to do with that because I had no sense of myself. Right? Having that big job and I kind of thought that was it. But as I said, and as you just said, there was nothing fulfilling. Like there was nothing that was me in that, right? I call me my acronym, my essence. Like I had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
Right. I had no idea. And so I tried to fill it in every possible way, bad boys, bad parties, I talk about a lot of it in the book, but
read the book. That's a teaser.
Read the book, right? If you want to know the real, the raw, and the not so pretty.
But we don't get that. I've been big this year. My word for the year is focus. And I have a theme. I have goals that I do metrics. Yes, I write them down, all the things, but like, I don't have like a New Year's resolution. For me, it's that word. It's that like intentional focus with the year. And, part of that is looking at like the guardrails of your business and your life, right? Is like, there's sometimes you mentioned you're missing something, but you don't know what. Right? You're like, I'm checking the boxes. I'm supposed to have a good job. I'm supposed to be making money. I'm supposed to, okay, I got that. But like, there's empty, right? Yeah. So I love that you put that on the table because I want to lean into that more because having like a master's degree in social work and work for the Fortune 500. So you actually left the Fortune 500 company, went back and got your master's degree. And that in itself is just a rare combination.
It was actually my undergrad. So I hadn't gone to college. So I didn't start college until I was 27 or 28. I didn't graduate with my BSW, my degree in social work, until in my early 30s.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. And I didn't get my master's degree until I was this is another crazy story. I started graduate school 6 months pregnant with my son, who is 25 today. You can do the math. I'm going to quit saying my age, but I got my master's degree well into my later years.
Well, you went back. I did too.
I
went back and because I thought that was the path that was going to fill the void. I thought that was what I needed and what I was seeking to fill that void and more education, right? More education. Yeah. That's what we know. That's the checkbox that we learn. So then you've kind of brought both of these worlds together, right? And you can, one of the things I loved was like, I sense that you can hold your emotion. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff that has happened in your past and you explain a lot of that and go into detail, but you also have this performance. So the emotion and the performance simultaneously. And I think that to me, when I was digging into like how you coach and what, and your approach, I thought it was very different. And so I want to lean in to this Upwork framework that you have. So can you walk me and our listeners through what it actually means, first of all, and what the process looks like? Because when I hear Uproot, I want to make sure our listeners understand that this isn't about like tearing everything down.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And thanks for that question, because I'm very excited about where Uproot is right now. And I just did some promo videos. So it's like really top of my mind to start, because it's going evergreen this year. So Uproot is an acronym. I love acronyms. I think they're fabulous to work with when you're trying to work through something. So I created an acronym called Uproot. It's called Your Ultimate Potential in Your Relationships, Your Work in Organizations, Opportunities, and Transformations. And so when I say transformation, I do mean literal, conscious, spiritual, like transformations. And I'm able to go the gamut because I've had so much personal life experience, and I've had so much education and with spiritual teachers, with consciousness development, through my social work career, through my business background. So I basically created a toolbox of my lifelong learning. So it goes from my social work curriculum, right, would really be the bedrock of where we come from, that bedrock of how we all come onto the planet, and we all come here, biology, right? And then life starts happening. So then I started to move through, okay, there's the social emotional conditioning and in the social work career and all the modalities I know in my therapeutic practice. And then I started working with somatics and energetic patterning. Game changer for me. And that's kind of a more complex story. But when I started working with it, it was such a game changer for me to understand that our emotions actually store in our bodies. We have energy, and somatically, the word somatic therapy now. When I was doing this 20 years ago, it wasn't so known. It was weird. It was woo-woo. But because I knew how significant it was, because I do my work. That's how I'm able to do it with other people, is I know the experience of what I'm doing. So when I started moving that layer in on top of the social emotional, it really started to shift. And then I had the opportunity, actually, a girlfriend from high school called me. She was in the C-suite at a major organization. And she said, I just did this work in our organization and you need to train in it. I said, I don't do organizational development. Why would I do that? She's like, just do it. This is my bossy high school friend. Just do it. So I'm like, whatever. So I started to look at it. I thought it was interesting. There was a snowstorm on my calendar, which is unusual. Like the time that the training was happening, and it was in Denver, and I could make it happen. I thought, well, here's a sign. Okay, let's do that. Well, on the day I finished that training, and that training was called the Leadership Circle Profile. It is an extraordinary tool used in organizations all over the world. It has an extensive database. We can go more into it, but they teach it and it's taught organizationally. It goes into massive, massive organizations all over the world. But while I was sitting there, I looked down at it and I looked at the model, and I realized that the model overlaid all of my intuitive knowing about what I knew about social emotional conditioning and what I knew about the energetic patterning. And so the models that I had been working on and working in my own work, my own container, fell together. And then I had this theoretic framework that overlaid everything. This is based on Keegan's work out of Harvard, Keegan and Leahy, the Leadership Circle founders, and Bob Anderson and Bill Anderson. They are just extraordinary leaders. And all of a sudden it came like I grokked it. I know you get this, Katie, because you know, like, when you know,
Yeah.
like all of a sudden you went, oh. And those two tools in my education became the bedrock of Uproot. And so that is how Uproot was created probably 12, 15 years ago. And it really started to grow during COVID. My mom died. I won't go into that whole story, but I had a kind of another existential, really big crisis and time in my life where I wrote the book. I thought I got to get Uproot out. I've got to, really start being out in the world and sharing the stories so that other people know they're not alone. That's really my purpose. We all deal with our stuff. We all have it. We all have it.
Oh,
right?
we all
We don't
have
talk
it.
about it, as you said in the beginning.
Well, and I did a podcast episode on what we termed the silent season, and it actually came from a conversation with a girlfriend that I'd met up with kind of last minute. I hadn't seen her in a while, and I'm just like, what's going on? Like, let's go. And she dropped a bomb of a story on me of like, I've been going through this whole year. Like, I couldn't tell you. I didn't want to. And I'm like, I'm your people. Like, I'm your person, like your inner circle. What? And it was interesting when I launched that episode. I had so many of my other friends be like, I can't believe you told us about the story. And I'm sitting here like, this isn't about you. And then I realized we all internalize, because we all have those silent seasons.
Right.
We all have those parts where we're even if you're a strong woman, this is not about strong or weak. This is like, I don't want to show everybody the crap that's in the closet, right? I don't want to show everybody and how I was raised is you don't air your dirty laundry.
Right.
And I think that it's unhealthy mindset. And this is just me as non-professional advice, but like, I don't think that's healthy. I think we need to have people that we vet in our sphere of influence that we can talk to. And I'm a big believer of therapy, of professional coaches. And you mentioned woo-woo. And, that's where I thought therapy was, I would say 2 years ago. I mean, like, I don't need this woo-woo. Like, and I'm like, yeah, I got a positive mindset. I'm focused. But what I didn't realize is there's a capacity, like limit with what you have learned and what you've been taught. So how you've been raised and what you come up with of your habits, your function, like you mentioned, kind of that 3-dimensional.
Right.
And you actually talk about those like unconscious patterns that are running in the background.
That's right.
And I never really acknowledged that. And I would tell you that has been the biggest unlock of the last year for me.
Right.
And it has helped enhance my capacity. So I'm on a big kick. I buy in. I'm loving it. And so I want for a second for you to share your insight, because for high achieving women who similar to me, like they feel like I got it together. I'm self-aware. I know how to set goals. I know how to drive it. How do you help them see what we can't see that's holding us back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, just another great question, because we all have that, right? We all, particularly what I know is that very intelligent, successful women, right? We live in a framework of an ideology of what we think it should be, right? And that ideology, I did my TED talk on the illusion of perfection, because in my mind, perfection is just an illusion. It's a story that we make up about how we think things should be. And usually those stories don't come from any reality. They come from someplace, as you said earlier, someplace really in our young adulthood. It comes from another person's idea about what they think you should be, right? And we buy into that. But the reality is that's not the case. And so at some point in our life, I have this big joke. I say God gives us about 40 or 50 years to figure it out. And if we don't figure it out, right, we start getting these cosmic 2x4s. Have you ever had one of those? It like comes and smashes.
The frying pan.
The frying pan too. Exactly. Midlife crisis. Some people would call it a midlife crisis, whatever it is, but it's real, right? So because your soul's destiny is really to come back home. It really just wants you to come back to who you are. And because of life's conditioning, we know this in theory, we know this through human development, we know it through a lot of different places that, the soul's journey is one of a human experience. But its destiny is back to its state of being whole, perfect, and complete. Like it is calling you to be aligned with your desire. I write in my book that one of my favorite Bible quotes is, "It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Like, what is it you desire? What is it you truly, truly, truly want? Because that is the destination, right? And we get really caught up as women thinking, oh, I can't have what I want because I'm so busy taking care of everybody else. I have to make sure he's fine and they're fine and it's fine and mom's fine, right? I lived my whole life doing that at a cost. Right? At a cost. And so what happens when I know in working with women is that, and we know again from the science of leadership circle, is that there's basically what I call 3 root causes. And they are protecting, complying, and protecting. Protecting, complying, and controlling. Right? So we develop ourselves, and we all many times will find us an avenue. They're called reactive tendencies, reactive ways of being that we learn very young. Like, how are we going to be okay? I'll give you a quick analogy because I know time's short. And this is a 15-week course I wrote. So like, if you want to go deep, come find me when Uproot goes virtual, you can do it. But the reality is that for me personally, I lived in the complying area because I lived in such a chaotic environment. All I knew was to stay under the radar, be a really good girl, and make sure everybody else was okay because it was a really chaotic family upbringing, right?
So you're a people pleaser.
I'm a huge people pleaser, right? And I have a huge sense of needing to belong. If I'm left out, I'm incredibly hurt. There's 4 aspects of complying, but there's a whole lot of like looking for ourselves out there. Like, if I could just make them happy, if I could just, if they would just include me, if I could, then I would be okay. The reality is that's not the reality, right? The reality is that we have to put ourselves and our desires first and foremost. What is it results that I want? What is it that I want to create? What is it that I need in my life? And how do I accomplish that? So the beauty of Uproot is that when I'm working with somebody, we actually can identify those reactive tendencies. We can do that through a lot of different modalities. There's a 360 online quiz we can take. There's a practice I use in my direct services. But once we find what those reactive tendencies are that are running below the surface, then we have a roadmap to go above. So then we come through the bedrock of the earth, we start to sprout, and the seed starts to form itself as who it is originally supposed to be. In theory, we call that creative competencies. We start to move in ways of being where we're more personally aware, personal learning, we're more relational, we're more able to connect with other people. We have a systemic view. At the pinnacle of those are two things. One is courage, courageous authenticity, right? And integrity. And let me define those because people get those really confused. Integrity has to do you know what your values are and are you living them? Do you know what your values are and are you living them? And do other people know what your values are? I live as an open book, so people know very clearly who I am, right? It's love, service, and faith, right? So the other part of that is, so that's integrity, your values. And the other part of that is courageous authenticity. And courageous authenticity, believe it or not, has to do, and this is so important for women, is the ability to use our voice and to speak up in controversial or tough situations. So my passion and my love, it's the reason I've curated TED Talks for 8 years with 4 women. It's the reason I podcast and I have a really interesting, challenging conversations with women about women's issues. I just did menopause this week. I think it just came out. No, I just did foster care system. Menopause is next week. But to me, this is what it's about. Is that we have to give a voice, and people have to have women. And I'm a women's empowerment coach, right? Women have to have a place to be able to share their stories and to be able to share their wisdom and use their voice. Right? Because when we hear our voice and our story in another woman's story, we realize we're not alone. Right? We're not alone in this journey. And we women need each other. We need to be connected. We need to know.
Oh, yeah. And somebody told me recently that they're like, yeah, it used to be that we lived in villages, right? When the phrase like it takes a village, and each person in that village fed you mentally, spiritually, and physically in a different way, right? Friends, neighbors, all that stuff. And now we've migrated to this like spouse or partner type of like dependency. And if that person's not giving us everything we need from our village, we feel like, that's the wrong one. Let's shift. Let's go.
Right.
Versus like, you need to expand your village. Like there are some people that I let, and I vetted, and I let them speak into my life. I let them speak into my business. And there's other friends that like, it's only a spiritual thing that I don't let them, they speak to me spiritually, but not in my business. Right.
Right.
And that's where I think we've gotten away from that. And we put so much stress on our partner or our spouse to provide everything for us. And we feel let down. And so I want to put that on the table in this conversation, because I love what you're saying is like, we used to have a whole village, and leaning into that, like when I was going through my unpacking, is some of the common things I thought that had built my story that were empowering me. I also found out some of them were holding me back. We're like setting this like invisible cap on my potential and my capacity. And so I'm wondering, when you work with high achieving women, like, do you find like a more common pattern that is that cap that you see that women have, or is it like just kind of like wide as the gamut kind of thing?
Well, I think it really depends on where they are in the journey, right? And I love this story. So when I work with the root causes, or in the leadership circle with organizations, or in my, what I notice is, yes, we have set patterns. And again, I'll just use myself. I'm very, very passive. I don't like to speak up on controversial issues. It's taken me years to practice. I have a little sign in my office that says, "A little courage, please." And when I first started practicing, I'd almost feel like I was going to throw up, but I'm like, I'm going to feel like I'm going to throw up and say it anyway. And now it's almost too much. Like, I do have to say, I'm questioning my people love it and people don't like it, but like I use my voice and I say what I think, and it doesn't matter where I am. It's like, if I'm there, my piece of puzzle is to be on the table, to be part of the whole. And I'm direct in my communication, right? My husband said, "Could you just soften it a little bit?" I'm like, no, I can't. Sorry. Sorry, can't do that.
Don't take it so offended.
Exactly. Don't take it personally. How did you know my husband's right there saying don't don't take it personally. God.
Well, it's like they tell you don't take it personally in one sense, and then they're like tone it down in another. And it's like you're almost getting like that some of that whiplash, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
And as a people pleaser, we take a lot of stuff up personally, right? And that has been a big like boundary in my life to have to say like, you're not necessarily wanting me to come in and fix your problem. Some people do. That is the reason some people, which then you get abused by people, right? Like in a professional setting, I should say, taking advantage of your skill set and people pleasing. But I love that there's a boundary, there's a balance, right? Because and also your faith, as you had mentioned and we talked a couple times, is like has guided you through a good portion of that journey, right? And I absolutely love the title of your book, Oh God of Second Chances, Here I Am Again. I always think of that when I go to confession, like, here I am, God. All right, let's get this done with, right? But to me, the title itself is a prayer in my mindset. And so how does that, you talk about some of the structure that you put into the Uproot, but how does your faith show up in your work, especially with the clients who may not share that exact same framework or belief system that you do?
Yeah, I love that question. My belief is you don't judge. As a kid who didn't have a traditional faith growing up in my family, I tried lots of different places. I'd get on the church bus and go to the Baptist church and, got the bejesus literally scared out of me because I was going to hell. And I was going to heaven. My parents were going to hell because I got saved one day to having a fit in the Catholic Church because I couldn't have grape juice and graham crackers. Like for whatever reason, my journey has been one. I have an undergrad degree in religion from the University of Kansas because I was so fascinated by religion and the concept of religion. And so my belief system is religion is man-made, right? But my faith is my relationship with my source. And I know my source. And I don't have to name it. And you don't have to name it. And when I work with people, they don't have to name it, right? It's like whatever it is that you hang on to that because if you're living and your heart is beating, you have to know there's something else happening in this sphere of our experience. This cannot be happening randomly. And whatever it is that is happening, right? It's not happening randomly. And when you start to drop into that trust and that faith and that recognition that there's something more. And again, I believe in the inherent good. I love to say, God don't make no junk, right? God don't make no junk.
Yeah.
We are all destined and divinely appointed to be here for whatever reasons that we are, right? And staying out of judgment. So I think just being in a non-judgmental state and just meeting people where they are because,
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I think that's easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah.
And I have a prayer warrior and she is amazing at it. And I have limited patience sometimes. And I'm always in awe about how she can show up and meet people exactly where it is her gift that God has given her and the patience she has and just how she steps into those roles. As a friend, I love her. I'm very blessed and to have her in my life in that aspect. And she speaks into my life for sure. And you need to have, and I wonder how you cannot know that there's some higher being. And as you mentioned, my in-laws are Buddhist and, I was raised Catholic / Lutheran. My dad actually converted halfway through. And so I would, when I was growing up, I'd go to Lutheran church one year and then Catholic the other. And so my prayers were all messed up. Like I'd start at Lutheran, I'd end at Catholic or vice versa. And people would be like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. You're switching. But at the root of it was always like the basic principles. And as you said, there is the organized religion rules, and then there's what's really given in the word, right? And at least that's what I believe in that mind. So with all your professional work and your personal work, and then you do a lot of advocacy work right now, foster care, the Capitol, community impact. And how does that connect the internal work that you do with individual women? Your one-off women clients, and what's that connection, that thorough line for you?
Service.
That's your heart. That's your heart.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm here to serve, use me, oh God, whatever it is. And, who knows what rabbit hole I go down. Like my whole life is a rabbit hole. I'm like, okay, it's not always easy, but I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do today? You know?
Yeah,
And who can I serve? I mean,
I
who
love
can I
that.
serve? Yeah. So whatever the cause is, and the other thing I really want to share, Katie, is that I absolutely believe that service is the healing piece for me. So when I decided to serve from the place of where I felt I was wounded, like where I felt like I wasn't enough, everything from when I was a later mom in life and I was worried about getting pregnant. I volunteered with moms bringing home new babies. My dad was massive depressive growing up. He attempted suicide, didn't die of it, but so I served on the board of the Carson J. Spencer Foundation, supporting men's mental health and suicide awareness and prevention. Like my whole social work career is built on the idea that I wanted young girls. I was on the board of the Girl Scouts, right? My whole idea of serving has to do with some aspect of where I serve, I'm healed, right? Where
Mhm.
I serve, it's a reciprocation. It is not a like I give. It's not. It's absolutely any space that I walk into. We're at the University of Metropolitan State University tonight, my husband and I, for their scholarship dinner, and I'm facilitating 4 students that are getting scholarship. I mean, but for me, I put myself through college, and I was a first generation college student.
Oh, me
So
too.
that
Nice.
that I mean,
Congrats.
this work it's powerful. It's
Oh,
impactful. And to sit there with 4 kids that are just graduating and they got scholarship, it's just like it gives me chills. It's like
mm.
it's my joy. So service.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what God has put in you, right? Like that's that. I mean, you can definitely tell the passion. And I think teaching is the way to mastery. And I love that your service work is really that way to master those scars and those wounds and how it heals you to be the better complete person. And I love that. So thank you for sharing because
Yeah.
I never looked at service work in that way.
Hmm.
Um, I got to do a lot of service work when I was younger. And I remember my mom led the first all women Habitat for Humanity build in our city.
How cool is that?
It was so cool. However, as I think I was maybe 21, 22, coming home from college and all I want to do is like sleep and recover, right? And see my high
Hmm.
school friends. And I remember one Saturday, my mom's like, yeah, okay, now next Saturday, where I'm like, next Saturday. I thought we were just doing this once. And so interesting, this is a little bit longer story than I wanted to, but I had in essence, a breakup with my boyfriend the Friday the night before. And I come onto the job site a little bit late, and my dad's sitting in the street because he's not on the property. He's like, this is an all woman's build. I'm going to be here as a resource. Bless his heart. He sat and like does what he does at our football games. He would like grill burgers and like just be support. And when the question came over, he'd be like, okay, do this to this, but he did not step on that job site. Like that was his thing. And
So
so
cool.
I remember walking up to the truck and being like, like almost in tears. Right? I was emotional, everything at that point, and telling him about it. And he's like, all right, okay. And he didn't like him anyway. But like, he's like, get your butt to work. It's like, I just poured my heart out to you, right? And he's like, get your butt to work. And I realized that day in helping these, and we had the local community college, we had the basketball team, the volleyball team, they were all there. Most of them had never been on a job site. Like I was raised on a job site. You don't carry 1 2x4 at one time, you carry 4 or 6 or whatever. And
Hmm.
so you had these 2 volleyball players like holding an end to an end of a 2x4, one going across. And so I'm sitting here like, okay. But in switching my mindset to go and helping these ladies like learn how to actually like swing a hammer, hang a wall. By the end of that day, like the breakup was irrelevant. And my mindset had shifted to like, what do I really want to get out of my time on earth? Right. What does
Right.
God have planned for me
Right.
for my time on work? And it was through that like service mindset
Hmm.
that totally shifted my day.
Yeah.
And so when you say that, like that takes me back to that truck, the tailgate of my dad being like, get your butt to work. Like,
Get to work. Yeah. 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 You're having a bad day. Go make a difference in somebody's life. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, some days we do need to just stay in bed. I took a day off. I just wrote about this. Like, I just kind of hit the wall. And, I thought, I'm just going to take a day off. And I did. And, it changed things. And now I'm back at it, just like, and I'm, please, I am as human can be. I have like bad days and I'm altruistic, but I'm not a saint, I'm as human can be, but I do have a strong value system around this idea of service and, that it is part of who we are. We are here to get our gifts. And even the darkest moments, I think if we start to wrap up, the second chance moments are those moments that seem like you just cannot get up off the floor, right? You can't get out of bed. You can't, your boyfriend break, whatever it is. I mean, it can be whatever, but we always have a chance to choose again. We always have a chance to choose again. And whether that's asking for help or whether that's, going out and smiling at somebody on the street or taking a walk in nature and realizing there's so much more here, there's so many ways to move into a second chance every day in our lives, every moment, really. And then when the big ones come, hopefully we've got enough muscle strength that we don't totally get knocked on our asses.
That is a great lead to the wrap up. And I always hate when, like, even on your podcast, I'm like, oh, we're almost done. It's
I
done.
know.
I love spending this time with you.
You too.
I want to ask you one final question, and you really teed that up properly. You didn't know this, but for the women listening, young professionals, experienced professionals, women who have like felt theirself in this conversation, like, I'm there with you, ladies. I get it. Like, and she knows, I'm going to put it like, she knows she's ready for something to shift. She knows she's ready for something to change, but she doesn't know where to start. So to that person, to that woman, what is one thing she can do today to start on that shift, to start on that pivot?
Yeah. I always teach, and I believe this with all my heart, just know you're enough, right? You have to start, as you talk a lot about mindsets, right? You have to know that you're enough and that you're worth it, right? And whatever that calling is, I would teach, aspire to your desire, drop into your heart, stop trying to figure it out in your head. Stop justifying everything that you're doing as, meeting the mark or right. Drop into your heart. I'm trained in HeartMath. So HeartMath is really a quick dropping into gratitude, appreciation, and love and asking your heart the question, right? Just ask yourself, what is the desire of your heart? And then allow that to come to the surface. And when you have the desire of your heart as a pinnacle to be able to say, oh, that's truly what it is, what you're going to know is once you recognize it, it's going to start coming to you. And I'm going to get woo-woo maybe, but I know this is truth. I know this in my own life. And I know this to the women I coach, that once you get clear about what you do want, you start moving in the direction of that way faster than staying stuck in the wallow of what you don't. So get clear about what you do want, and your heart knows.
Yes. And we may have you come back on if you're open for it to talk more about that heart math. I love math, but I love the heart math. I want to talk about that. If a woman wants to go deeper, where do they find you?
Oh, thanks for that. My website is just my name, christybelz.com. And right now we are just starting to promote the Uproot. I'm taking it evergreen. So the curriculum is done and it's been done. But what I'm working on is video content to go along with that. So I'm hoping in the next month, I'm going to have the videos done to go with each segment. It's 15 weeks or 15 segments of curriculum. I've had PhD psychologist. I mean, it is a very, very comprehensive course of social emotional conditioning, somatic work. I teach you a lot of tools and techniques. It has to do with really understanding reactive tendencies and behaviors and really looking at creative competencies and what your soul, really the destination of your soul, if you want to go that deep. And you can take it bite by bite. You can, and I will be teaching alongside it. I just don't know how yet. So, I still do some individual coaching. Yeah, just check out the website and listen to the podcast. My podcast, Christy Belz, Second Chances with Christy Belz. It's on all the platforms. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And I'll definitely I'll put the podcast, a link to our episode, to episode we did together, and the show notes, as well as all your socials in there too. And honestly, Christy, this is a conversation I didn't know I needed today. So I shared a little bit of my younger life. So I appreciate that. And I think in wrapping up, what to me runs underneath every everything that changes is about really what's it possible on top and like who can we become, right? And I love your gift of helping. I love your gift of service to heal you and to heal others, and it's great. So I appreciate you. And ladies, if this episode has landed with you and you feel called to reach out to Christy, please do. She's an amazing person, and we'll have her back on for some HeartMath.
Yeah.
And please check out her book, Oh God of Second Chances. Here I am again. Here I am again. I don't want to stop there. It's like, here I am again. And definitely check it out, as well as her podcast. Thank you again, Christy. And ladies, if you know someone who is in this, what I call the silent season, or is struggling to figure out that she's made for more and how to get there, please share this episode with her, because sharing our stories, as Christy and I was talking about today, help others and help others realize that they're not alone. And so that's both of our hearts near and dear. So thank you for listening to Real Talk with Katie Kim, and let's go. Before we wrap up, if someone in your world needs this conversation, a founder who's carrying a lot and ready for clarity, send this episode to her. These messages land deeper when we share them. And if you're in that space where you know your business can grow, you feel the potential, but the next strategic step isn't fully clear yet, let's talk. You don't need a new identity. You don't need to force a direction. You just need clarity that's aligned with your goals, your numbers, and the life you want to lead. I invite you to book a call with my team. We'll look at where you are, identify the real leverage points, and map the smartest next move, whether that's one of our free resources, a workshop, or deeper support. Clarity creates momentum. Let's get yours. Let's go. The information in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not legal advice. It's not financial advice. It's not investment advice. Real estate development, like any investment, carries risk. Before you make decisions, you should always consult a licensed professional, your attorney, your CPA, or your financial advisor, to name a few, to make sure you're making the right choice for your situation. I'm here to share insights and strategy, but you're responsible for your own decisions, and each situation is unique. So make sure you contact your professional team to give you your specific guidance for your specific case, as each real estate development's different and unique and has its own challenges and opportunities.